this time, if we could call the meeting to order, Kathleen Allen, James Bell,
Here.
Amy Callan, here. Brian Chetney,
Here.
Tom Chapa,
Here.
Brandon Legault,
Here.
Sam Tripp,
Here.
Elise Manicha. If at this time you would join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Amy and Dean, can we do a moment of silence for Dr. Northley as well, for being best board member?
Great idea,
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, no one has signed up to speak from the public, so we will move to recognitions. Dr. Bui and Mrs. Callan. Also, if we could have Mr. Wallace come up to the front. Dr. Bui will call the names. If you would come up, receive your certificate, but stay up there because we'd like to get group photos also.
So we have 3 groups of student recognition. It's a big night for student recognition. We have 3 groups. The first group are some individual athletic recognitions. We also are going to do some recognitions tonight on the CNI Scholastic Art Competition. We also are going to do some student recognition for the 2019 Skills USA competition, which are a lot of our CTE programs. So we're going to start with athletics. And although the much of the narrative in the certificate is the same, I'll read one, but then we'll read the specifics about each particular student. And as I read that, we would ask you to come up behind until we gather a group, and then we'll have photos. Okay? So first for athletics, without my glasses. Your hard work and dedication resulted in your success and has brought recognition to not only you, your coaches, the Oswego High School, Oswego School District, and our entire community. The Oswego City School District recognizes and congratulates you for your outstanding accomplishment. Signed, Amy Callan, Board of Education President, and Dean Bui, Superintendent of Schools. The first is a recognition of Samuel J. Allen, Oswego High School. In recognition of your great leadership as a libero for the Oswego High School District Boys Varsity Volleyball Team. Also for being voted the Central New York Libero of the Year by the coaches in the SCAC and nomination for the 2018 Fall CNY Athlete of the Year, Sam Allen. Want to individual pictures, sir? We can wing it. Yeah. What's going on? You never know when you get steel things. Next, we have Sydney DeLapp, Oswego High School. In recognition of your 3rd season as a girls varsity swimmer and 1st year as a New York State Championship swim meet qualifier. Also for the 2nd straight season for being selected for the SCAC First Team All-League Honors and being chosen for the All Section 3 team, Sydney DeLapp. Next, Molly Fitzsimmons, Oswego High School. In recognition of being a standout runner for the girls varsity cross country team and for your accomplishments as a 1st team all division, 1st team all league, 7th place section 3 class A, 1st team all CNY, 19th place in the New York State Public High School Athletic Association Class A state championship meet, a member of the section 3 New York State championship team, and 4th team all state, Molly Fitzsimmons. Next is Joshua Thomas. In recognition of being a leader on the boys varsity swimming and diving team, and a qualifier for the Section 3 Championship swimming and diving meet in all events, and for ranking in the top 9 in the 50 freestyle and 100 butterfly, and in the top 4 in the 100 freestyle in Section 3.
Becky, don't close that line.
Is it okay?
It'll be okay.
Okay. Next, Central New York Scholastic Art Competition. Your hard work and dedication resulted in your success and has brought recognition to not only you, your teachers, the Oswego City School District, and your entire community. Madison Bouchard, Oswego High School, in recognition of your Gold Key, honorable mention, 2 awards, Gold Key and honorable mention, in the CNY Scholastic Art Competition, Madison Bouchard. Nicole Del Conte, Oswego High School, in recognition of your Gold Key and honorable mention, 2 awards in the Central New York Scholastic Art Competition. Nicole Del Conte. Madeline Gunther, in recognition of your honorable mention in the Central New York Scholastic Art Competition. Next, Caitlin Murphy, Oswego High School, in recognition of your honorable mention in the Central New York Scholastic Art Competition. Caitlin Murphy. We'll get her another night. Anthony Nisbet, Oswego High School, in recognition of your Gold Key Award in the Central New York Scholastic Art Competition. Andrew Noyes, in recognition of your honorable mention in the Central New York Scholastic Art Competition. Andrew Noyes. He's trapped.
Congratulations, David. Dr. Dwight?
Yes.
Would you like the art teachers are here? Would you like
That'd be great, yes.
Please.
Our staff need to do the wall.
'Cause you know, people sit in the front.
Yeah, maybe if we could get the students to set.
Like 2 or 3?
Sorry.
2019 Skills USA Competition. Your Your hard work and dedication resulted in your success and has brought recognition to not only you, your coaches, the Oswego the Oswego School District, and the entire community. The first is Noah Leibel. In recognition of your 4th place in the 2019 Skills USA Area 2 Regional Results PM CTE session for criminal justice. Noah Leibel. Aiden Osmond. In recognition of your 3rd place in the 2019 Skills USA Area 2 Regional Results PM CTE session for collision repair technology. Aiden Osmond. Alexander Thorpe. In recognition of your 3rd place in the 2019 Skills USA Area 2 Regional All CTE session in PTEC, extemporaneous speaking. Valerie Whitford, in recognition of your 4th place in the 2019 Skills USA Area 2 Regional Results PM CTE session for commercial baking. Valerie Whitford. Desiree Zapala, in recognition of your 13th place in the 2019 Skills USA Area 2 Regional Results All CTE Session Cosmetology Junior. Desiree Zapala.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the Board of Education. There is 3 resolutions that all deal with the proposition of busing, the purchase of busing, coming up on May 21st, 2019. The resolution of the City School District of the City of Oswego, New York, determining that the purchase of transportation vehicles is a Type 2 action under the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act and is not subject to further review. B is the bond resolution authorizing the purchase of transportation vehicles by the City School District of the City of Oswego, New York, at a maximum cost of $911,000 and authorizing the issuance of a $911,000 serial bonds to pay the cost thereof. C is the resolution approving a proposition for the purchase of transportation vehicles for the submission of district voters on May 21st, 2019 school district annual meeting. Any questions? On these, I do need a roll call vote, if I could please. Kathleen Allen?
Yes.
James Bell?
Yes.
Amy Callen?
Yes.
Brian Chetney?
Yes.
Tom Siappa?
Yes.
Brandon Legault?
Yes.
And Samuel Tripp.
Yes.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
Yes. Oh, no, I would never take yours. You can take mine.
Rhonda, should you hit the lights?
Do me back it up.
So while they're loading, you'll remember that 2 weeks ago, we did kind of a summary budget because we were kind of in a holding pattern relative to our hopes and wishes in regards to how the final state budget would roll out. Well, our dreams came true, and they don't often do that. So we were hopeful, and I think I know we shared with the board in the audience 2 weeks ago that we had received about $600,000 in additional state aid this year from last year. But after much work, we had whittled what was a couple $1 million gap down to about $300 and some thousand. And our effort was focused on keeping any reductions as far away from programs and staffing for kids as we possibly could. And our real hope was that we would see some additional revenues related to the final state budget to at least fill that $300 and some thousand gap. I was on a conference call last week with Will Barkley, as well as 2 members of the Ways and Means Committee, and we touch base annually about, and we know that our legislators advocate for us. And they reassure us each year that they do, and they always come through. And we always enjoy higher levels of state aid in the legislative runs than we do from the governor's runs. But he seemed to have a slightly more optimistic tone this year than previous years. And we really dug deep into what would our needs be. And short of completely running the state aid formula, which still is not up and running, we know that there have been significant advocacy from a lot of groups across the state, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But some advocacy groups have been sending us updates over the last 2 days. And we know that certainly ASBO, which is the New York State Association for School Business Administrators, as well as NISCUS, which is the Council of School Superintendents, and many others, New York State School Boards, a whole host of other people have been advocating to not only fully run the school aid formula that would indicate that Oswego is owed about $16 million if we were to fully run the formula. But if not, then to more adequately fund schools that are small city school designation, and take a look at certainly the poverty associated with the budget monies that come to the upstate. Because we all know that a lot of the final New York State budgets funnel a lot of money downstate, but we were hopeful and they were hopeful, and those numbers came to rest. So what we want to do tonight is just kind of give you a more up-to-date financial picture of where we were relative to that $300,000 gap that we talked about last week, and then talk about what our next steps would be. The first slide is state aid, and the first column indicates those areas of state aid that you're very familiar with. The next line is the executive 2019-20 budget, or what we refer to as the revenue run. And the next is the legislative run, or what's sometimes referred to as the final New York State budget. You can see that the largest increase that we received from the numbers that we shared with you 2 weeks ago until today is an additional $2,035,000 in foundation aid. And the reason this is so significant is for years you've heard me talk about that pot of money in the AIDS package called foundation aid is the bucket of money that we have the most flexibility with. It's the most helpful. It's the pocket of money that we can apply to the areas that we really need to apply. And some of the other aid areas that you see on this page show some small, insignificant increases or decreases. You'll notice too that BOCE's aid went up $22,174. You'll also remember probably that last year that was the aid line that we saw the most significant increase on. And we started to speculate at that time that maybe that whole idea that Oswego was not as rich as we appeared was starting to work. We're not sure what all the indicators are that moved us into a significant increase in foundation aid. But we do know that increases in foundation aid for small city schools were on the legislative agendas for NISCUS and ASBO. So the overall great news on this page from 2 weeks ago is that we are receiving an additional $2.1 million in state aid, largely applied to foundation aid. thought it might be good to share some non-monetary items that do inform some monetary decisions that we make. Some things that are coming out that we don't have a lot of guidance document on yet, but are things that you'll be hearing about in your advocacy emails from certainly from your state school boards and some other things. But just to outline a few, one is an increase in foundation aid to small city school districts. It's actually $90 million, or a 5% increase in foundation aid applied to designated small city schools alone. So that really was the purpose of the largest jump that you see in the foundation aid number that we're talking about tonight. The next is really significant for us, and the board knows that we have an ERS reserve, an employee retirement reserve, but we've not been able to establish a TRS reserve before. And the TRS stands for Teacher Retirement System, and that's a reserve that we can now start to establish and fund that provides some safety nets to protect ourselves from increases in contribution rates and some other retirement rates for teachers' retirement, some post-employment things.
Gene, how will we fund that reserve?
We'll have to determine whether we start to fund it from some budget surplus, or maybe some of the money that we're going to see at the end of the presentation at the board's budget workshop that I'm going to suggest you choose a date for next week.
So it wouldn't become a line in the budget, it wouldn't become a,
It would just become a new reserve.
but I mean a line to fund it, wouldn't be funding it out of our general.
The board can fund the reserve from either fund balance or, I don't know the legality about from the general fund building it into a line of the budget. Typically, you fund your reserves.
Nancy's saying no.
Yeah.
Right, but you're saying that your wish is to create this reserve
I think we need
to put us in a position of protection against
Yep.
something that.
And another reserve. Go ahead, Jim.
And the reason that you're choosing or saying that we should or can have the ability to do that is because of the surplus from the state, from the,
Yeah.
Right.
I think in the end, we might make a recommendation, come to some
So
number
it'd be in
next
our
week
budget.
after the board budget that might split the difference.
it'd be in the budget.
There might be
That's
some
what-
things that we'd like to now put on a pretty flat budget
Right.
that we'll talk about in a slide or two, but maybe also use that to fund two reserves that we think that we need. One is the new TRS reserve, and the other would be the nuclear reserve that we currently have $0 in. Next would be staggering building condition surveys over the next 5 years. We're not sure what this is, but we made several calls today. Currently, you know that the requirement is to have a building condition survey in New York State schools every 5 years. We think that they're moving toward a regional building condition survey to take the pressure off New York State from approving your building condition survey. So they may identify a region in New York State whose building condition surveys are due in 2020, and then another region to start in 21, and then 22, and then you get back on a 5-year cycle. So the state ed review process is a much smaller pocket of schools instead of everybody just being reviewed at the same time. But we're somewhat speculating on that because this doesn't sound that dissimilar to what we currently have, but we haven't received any guidance on that yet. Most of these we haven't. The next would be modifying the executive proposal on school level budgeting. We've talked a little bit about that, the estimate requirements of building school-based budgets, and that was an issue of providing equity to schools. And now they're suggesting that instead, school district would generate a report to SED on how they're working to address the identified inequities in funding in their buildings. Again, no guidance yet, but those things are coming. The next is making reduced price lunches free for certain eligible students. We don't know what the eligibility requirements would be for this, but we're somewhat concerned that it becomes an unfunded mandate, where students who are eligible for some reduced lunch would now be eligible for free lunch. It may be a percentage of eligibility based on their household income. The next would be, is actually very good news for us. The governor had proposed turning some reimbursable aids into a block grant, as well as proposing changes to building aid. The governor's proposal would have restricted or reduced certain aid amounts that we get, and the legislature overruled that in his budget, and we see that as a positive thing. It gives us at least more, if not flexibility, in the aid packages that we have.
So they're saying instead of judging us or gauging us on a percentage as to the aid that we would get, it's gonna go in a grant system? Different.
Yeah, he was talking about lumping together different types of school aid into grant opportunities that would be more competitive, I understand.
That's weird though,
And
because
they overruled.
every package that we go out for, they have to analyze it and tell us how much they're willing to do.
Right.
Yeah.
The bottom line here is
Right.
that the legislature has opened up our ability to not restrict or reduce certain aids, and we see that as a positive thing. The next slide is a year-to-year comparison on revenues alone. So on the first column, you're going to see the different areas of revenue that we generate to build our budget. Property taxes is the first. The second column is 1920, so this would be the pocket of money we anticipate to come in through property taxes. You can see that in the far right column, it suggests that we'll have an additional $205,450. That's an increase in levy. So the increase in the taxes that we generate, the property taxes create on levy. The levy is informed by the tax cap. And we know that this year our tax cap is 0.007. We were reporting it as 0.065, but we're rolling it up. So our tax cap would generate $205,450, applying the cap of 0.007. Pilots, $233,000. The $2.3 million in state aid. And then other revenues that we've reported before, but the bottom two lines are the most significant. Because you will remember that 2 weeks ago, we proposed that we tapped into two particular reserves in order to reduce the gap to $330,000. We proposed taking $500,000 from our ERS reserve and another $500,000 from our tax cert reserve. Neither of those we're completely comfortable with, but we felt that it was a safe alternative to digging deeper into instructional programs and staffing for kids. This $2.1 million allows us now to set those reserves back. So we're suggesting that we do not use any fund balance or particular reserves in the 1920 budget. Which brings us to the bottom, which is our revenue total this year is up $1.9 million, $86,034,274 over last year's $84,115,075. This is a little further description of what are the real numbers associated with the tax cap at 0.007. The tax impact on a $100,000 home applying the tax cap would be an increase of $14.37. Or 1.01% on a $100,000 home. So the tax rate would now become $20.60 per thousand, and our current tax rate for the 18-19 operating budget is $20.46 per thousand. So this is an increase of 14 cents per thousand. So the bottom line is 1920, our total revenues as of today, $86,034,274. Our expenditures that we've reported out are $85,232,113. It's important to point out that that's only a 1% increase in our operational budget. And as I indicated 2 weeks ago, for a typical lean rollover school district budget, particularly in a small city school, you would expect at least a 2% increase, and we still have managed to keep it down to 1% as of today. So that leaves us with an $802,000 161 surplus. It's recommended that additional state aid be used to do a couple things right out of the gate before we have further conversations about what else we might want to do with that money. The first is to replace the use of reserves, which you saw on a previous slide. Take those two $500,000 pockets of money from ERS and tax cert and put them back in the reserves. The second would be to close the gap with another $300,000. So here's the math. We start with 2.1 million. You take $1 million away and put it back into those reserves that we had talked about using. That leaves us 1.1. Subtract the 300,000, which was the gap, and that leaves us with about like $800,000 worth of surplus from the additional state aid. And what is already a really lean budget. And remember, any of the requests or wish lists that were generated with departments and principals were not in there. In addition, there were some small reductions that we put in to get to that $300,000 and some gap. Little things, but some significant things too. Elementary field trips. Doesn't sound like a lot of money, but it's a very big thing to an elementary school. Things like that. So those are the things that we're going to be looking at over the next week. So if you go to next steps, what I'm asking the board is to select a date and time for next week to engage in a budget workshop. That gives us a chance between now and whichever date that you choose just to now go back and try to create a budget that has recommendations for the board that might apply some of that $800,000. Some might be to establish or to support reserves, and some might be to add instructional programs or staffing that we think are really important. So it gives us a little time to generate what we think would be our final budget recommendation, and then to come together in the budget workshop similar to what we've done in other years, take a look at those things, run through the final budget that we recommend and then make changes.
Tina, are you and your administrative team going to make recommendations of what you think are the most important items to put back in?
Yes, and we'll highlight those specifically from what changes from tonight to what we bring in as our tentative proposed budget, and we'll outline all of those additions. But you already have wish lists from schools, you have some department wish lists. I think it's important that we send you those other department wish lists. I think we've sent athletics, but it's important that you see special education, technology, transportation, and some others. But we're going to be taking a more district global approach. It's always important to gather the input from departments and principals because they're seeing it from their perspective, through their lens. And now taking a look at all those and taking a district lens and saying, what has the greatest impact?
The bigger picture.
Yeah.
Can you, when you put that together, I presume you can see you're working towards that. In doing that, can you highlight where you decided to make the previous cuts?
Yes.
So that we know your line of thought
Mhm.
as to what you thought we could do.
We can add a slide of the things that we already pulled out that
Right.
are in our existing budget.
Right, exactly.
It's not a ton of money, but there are some big chunks of money, like $100,000 for the cyclical replacement practice on furniture.
Mhm.
That came out.
Right. But that's, if we could see that,
Yes.
right, because that's where your first go was.
Yes.
And now if you put that together with the wishes
Yeah.
of what everybody else wants,
Exactly.
then we can.
We can color code or isolate whether these
Yeah.
are putbacks from our
Yeah.
existing
Right.
operational budget, or if they are coming from requests or wish lists from multiple departments or administrators, and why. Some of the things that we reduced, for example, because this is good news, but my recommendation is not that we spend all this money, because we don't know what next year will bring. And I think there's some reserves that we want to enhance and to create. But I think to strike a balance between some things that we still really wanted on the instructional end, with the ability to sock away several $100,000s of dollars into the establishment or supplementing the reserves accounts. Administrative interns would be one. Probably wouldn't be my recommendation to put that back. But I think, summer strength and conditioning would be. Elementary field trips would be. And there are several others, but I just can't pull them out of my brain
Sure.
right now.
Right.
But we can identify,
Yeah.
we'll give you a list of what we pulled out to get to that $300,000 gap. And then, a proposal of what right now there's nothing added.
Right,
Well, yes, there was. There was 2 elementary teachers and 4 teaching assistants.
right,
Those would still
Sure.
remain, but there may be some other enhancements too.
right. Do we have to adopt this by May 7th? That's to be voted on?
Yes.
Right.
So, no, we have a budget hearing on May 7th,
we have to push something to,
No, you have to adopt in that gap board meeting between the budget workshop and the May 7th meeting. You have to adopt the budget before we go to budget hearing.
right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
And then,
there's a board
so-
meeting in there that we
Right.
didn't list.
Oh, I got you, okay.
Right.
But the May 7th is the day that we have to
May-
have all our Ts crossed, Is dotted.
The board has
done deal.
approved and
Right.
adopted the budget, we roll
So-
it out to the community and let people have a say in it. We're right on schedule perfectly to do this. We got, our last presentation got us a little ahead of the game, which was good, because we were kind of just sitting around waiting for this legislative money to come through.
But come May 7th,
Yes.
and we have our hearing, we've already adopted, the board has already adopted a budget. But the budget they've adopted is a number.
That's
Now,
right.
when we have the hearing and we listen to the public and we decide, well, maybe we want to move some things around, we still have the opportunity to do
Yes.
that.
That's
So
right.
all we're going to approve
Is what.
up to the hearing.
Gotcha.
So is
Yeah,
it the
you're
April 16th
approving a
meeting?
a number
You're right.
to present to the hearing.
No, so is it the April 16th meeting where we'd approve it? before
Yes.
The hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
But most of the decisions about what we're gonna put forth relative to the number and the things that we think should be in it at that point would be approved by the board at that meeting before we go to the public hearing. So I'll let Karen manage the date and time for the budget workshop.
So just to be clear.
Yeah.
So the budget workshop basically will come up and agree upon that number. I mean, obviously, it won't be in a, we won't vote on it officially.
Right.
And I'm asking that because I won't be here on the 16th.
Amy, you'll know before the meeting, the board meeting that you missed when we actually approved the budget.
Right. I'll
We'll-
already know
we'll-
because.
we'll be
we're-
all
Yeah,
in
the
on
dust will be
workshop.
settled because it's gonna be the meeting.
We'll be all in.
Before, okay.
When we read the budget workshop, we'll be in. We'll know what it is.
Before, okay.
Yep. It worked out well because the budget workshop is before you go, and I know that you wanted to be at the budget workshop.
Right, yep, that's perfect.
It's more important than the budget to
To be
approve
in
it
there,
because you'll
yeah.
already have committed to it.
Right,
Right.
Or not.
yep,
Hey,
perfect.
can I ask Nancy a question about the
Yes.
the buses? Nancy, what is the aid percentage that we get on buses, new buses?
I think it's 86, 86.
86.7.
Yeah, 86.7.
Okay, so we go out, we approve, just for numbers, $100,000 bus. We get $86,000 of that back. When does that come back to the district, and how does it come back?
That comes back in our transportation aid. And it should, with the buses, it should come back right after we bonded for them. So in the following year.
So it comes, okay, that's soon.
So it comes in a lump,
It
'cause I
doesn't
thought
work,
it would've been the
it doesn't
5
work the same way as building aid, where you actually have to have substantial completion of the project in order to generate the aid.
And it goes, and that money, when the aid money comes back, doesn't go into the general budget, it goes into transportation?
No, it goes into the general budget to support the transportation budget.
But then we do pick up some debt, right, on the bond?
Mm-hmm.
And that's added to our debt service,
Correct.
which is built into the budget?
Mm-hmm. Right, but we always have it managed so that even though we're buying buses for next year, we don't actually go out for bonding until the beginning of next fiscal year, which delays the principal payment a whole year.
Okay, and by then we've got our,
By then, we've got our
Our
aid.
state.
good job, thank you.
So can we schedule that budget workshop?
Yeah, well, I'd like to do that in a minute.
How
Karen,
would Wednesday, the 10th, at 5,
I'm out of town until Wednesday.
until Wednesday?
So it'd have to be Thursday or Friday or Monday of following.
How about Thursday at 5?
Thursday is the,
11?
I have legislation. Well, pending, legislation's at 7, so I give you 5.
This could be, say, meeting as well.
Yeah.
it could be, but I know that's.
Yeah, it's
problematic
difficult
for
for
some
some,
people.
but I'm just.
We did it in the morning last year, but it's whatever people can make.
It'd be afternoon for me.
Afternoon.
How about
Afternoon's better.
So what's the best day?
Thursday.
the 12th, the 11th to 12th? Because I mean, if we
Yeah.
do it on the day before, that's kind of, isn't that difficult for you if you do it?
Well, it's difficult to get any kind of response if we had any question at all.
Right, yeah.
The
that's what-
Fridays are easier for me to take during the day than that's a Thursday.
And
So
if that Friday the 12th would not work for me because it's a husband policy weekend for me.
How about Monday, the 15th?
That's the
Yeah,
day
fine.
before, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'd say the 11th, I could try breaking out, but it'd have to be at like 3. We could do
3 in the
then.
afternoon on the 11th.
On
Are
the
you gone on
11th.
the 15th? Yeah, if
No.
you're gone on the 16th.
I'm gone on the 16th.
Oh,
Are you good on the 11th?
3 o'clock on the 11th, I could get out, or maybe even 2 if worst case scenario, but.
11th, good for
I'd rather do
you?
it on the
Can we do
11th.
that?
At 3?
We have
3 on the
We have
11th?
district faculty liaison at 4, but we could reschedule that.
I could reschedule that.
Yeah.
What day's the 11th fall?
It's a
It's
Thursday.
Thursday?
At
I got a busy dance party.
I know you do. I know you
So
do.
we're gonna go the 11th at 3 o'clock,
We send an invite out?
and I will send an invite with the location. I'm gonna plan on this room, but just in case that doesn't work out, I'll send an email out to everyone.
Sounds good.
Okay, that's great.
Okay?
3 o'clock.
Thank you.
Dr. Gui, would you have any other items?
Yeah, I just thought I should mention there's been some buzz on social media. We've been pretty busy over the last 2 days. As you know, there was a pretty significant school bus accident yesterday. And that school bus was a late run for Oswego Middle School and Oswego High School. And although we can't really talk because of HIPAA about the condition of students, I can tell you that there were 4 students on the bus, 3 middle school and 1 high school. There was a driver, and there was a driver in training that was acting as a monitor. 3 of the 4 students were sitting near the rear of the back, near the rear of the bus. 1 student closer to the front. I just wanted to say that as of right now, we believe that there were no really serious injuries. There's no one currently in the hospital, but it was a very serious accident. It was alarming to go to that scene. And I wanted to thank Tom Gunn, who's our Director of Transportation. They went into a code red transportation matter immediately, and I was notified immediately by Wendy, who's their dispatcher. She was professional, calm. I was able to respond to the site. Tom was already there. We had responders from the Oswego County Sheriff's Department, the New York State Police, Oswego, multiple ambulance corps were there. And this was the worst bus accident I'd seen in my career, and I think Tom would agree that it was.
Were there any other
It was
vehicles
a,
involved?
no,
Okay.
How many people were on the bus?
6.
6,
Yeah.
so
4
4 got
students and
hurt.
2 staff. All were hurt.
Oh, everybody got it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Different degrees of injury, certainly, from scrapes and bruises to possible broken bones. But it was a miracle. We went back to the site today so that we could take some additional photos, and it's a miracle that we didn't have serious injuries. So it was a lucky day for us, Oswego students, and just thought I would put it out there. Our kids are okay, and our staff is okay, and
Bus can be
and
replaced.
it can be replaced. And it was, it could have been a much worse situation. So we're still investigating the cause of the accident, following all the procedures and protocols to investigate the cause. And we'll report it out to the board as we know more information, but I think the most important thing to report is that one of the 3 middle school students that were hurt was back in school today. And so we have 3 more students that we hope will return very soon, as well as those staff members. So Tom, thanks to you and your staff.
Thank you, Tom.
I know Mary Beth reached out to some parents and students. I know that Mr. Wallace reached out to students today, and I was able to talk to 3 of the 4 victims on the scene, as well as parents. It's a miracle. So I just wanted to mention that.
Dr. Gui, if I could also bring up another board meeting, a special board meeting
Yes.
for April 24th. It is a mandatory city administrative budget vote and election of city board members. It's on the 24th, and I was wondering if we could do it during the day on the 24th, maybe 9, 10 o'clock. We need a quorum, and it takes about 5 minutes. I was wondering if more board members would like to do that.
What was the date?
April 24th.
Okay.
What day of the week is that?
That is a Wednesday, 9 o'clock possibly.
And we need a quorum.
I need a quorum. Sam, you said yes?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Anyone else maybe?
I can do it.
Kathleen?
I can do it as well. I say yes, but I really think I got back on the down at my phone.
Yeah, I can most likely do it, yeah.
Okay,
You're right.
so I'll put Amy down,
Okay.
possibly Jim.
What's the point, really?
Okay, thank you so much. Yes. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. That is the minutes of the regular Board of Education meeting of March 5th, March 19th, 2019, and the Special Education Board report of April 2nd, 2019. Any questions? Motion?
Move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed. Next on the agenda is curriculum with Carrie Class.
A is for curriculum and instruction of a federal state program. It is the acceptance of the funding for the Title I School Improvement Grant. This is the money that was given the district for the middle school comprehensive support improvement and being a targeted district. It is just to help the planning stages of what the school will then do in the future for how they're going to roll out the feedback that they receive from the state, the visit. So it's just planning, that money is strictly for planning.
Any questions? Motion?
I'll make a motion.
Tom? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And B is the summer grant proposals, which really aren't for the summer this year. We ran them throughout the whole year. And there are actually 4. The first one is the STEM experience that will be at Kingsford. Kelly Moxley wrote the grant to bring in different, 2 different kits that are robotic and also coding. The second one, OHS, is a field trip to the Safe Haven Museum that will pay for admission of 40 students plus the bus. The third one is the first grade field trip to the Gifford Zoo, which will be all the entire first grade, and it is for transportation and also admission. And the last one is OHS, and it is really for engaging a student and creating a calming atmosphere in the classroom. It is light covers for fluorescent lights, so it's supposed to create a calming, engaging environment.
Has this been tested?
It has. The teacher actually has some above her desk and can feel the difference, but it is all tested and proven.
It's not like those salt lamps?
No. It's not the bubble lamp.
Heidi has one of those, don't make fun of me. She has it.
My wife has two.
Could I
Don't
have a
do anything
motion,
for me.
please? Brian, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed. Next, on to personnel with Dr. Sweeney.
A is a professional retirement from Marilee Taylor at Kingsford Park School. Whereas Marilee Taylor has served the students and staff of the school district as a school counselor for the period September 23rd, 1991 to the present, and has been a most responsible, conscientious, and dedicated staff member in service to the school district. Now therefore be it resolved that the members of the Board of Education of the Oswego City School District hereby acknowledge the faithful service of Ms. Taylor upon accepting her resignation for the purpose of retirement effective June 30th, 2019, and we express our grateful appreciation to her.
Any questions? Motion?
I'll move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I just wanted to say that Mary Lee has been in the district a long time, certainly, and I taught her son. And so she clearly is too young to retire. Or I was a really young teacher, maybe, I don't know. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Might want to point out before you go to the next retirement resolution that we still will do the June
Recognition?
Yeah, I'm struggling tonight. The June recognition of all our staff retirees that happen throughout the year. So you'll be invited back in June for a special event.
Give you a cupcake.
Yeah, don't get that excited.
B, support staff retirement for Pamela Whiting. Whereas Pamela Whiting has served the students and staff of the school district for the period June 15th, 1981 to the present, and has been a most responsible, conscientious, and dedicated staff member in service to the school district. Now therefore be it resolved that the members of the Board of Education of the Oswego City School District hereby acknowledge the faithful service of Ms. Whiting upon accepting her resignation for the purpose of retirement from the position of custodial worker effective June 30th, 2019, and we express our grateful appreciation to her.
Any questions? Motion?
Yeah, move it. I just-
Second, I'm sorry. All in favor?
I just,
Sorry.
You can still speak, Sam.
I just want to say, Pam Whiting has been at the middle school, I think, since the building was opened.
She moved the stuff over, she said. She was temporary employee, she moved the stuff over from the old building.
So she's been through, what, 6 or 7 principals? And she's taught you all well.
She tries.
But she was a great asset to the school district, and she'll be missed. Kids love her, and the staff love her, and so I wish her the best.
Pam actually graduated with Mary Beth and I from Oswego High School. Well, that's right, you were a year ahead of me. Yeah. All right.
C, extra compensatory position recommendations. After school study table detention supervisor Patrick Bond at the middle school.
Any questions? Motion? Second, Amy? Did you? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
D, extracurricular volunteer recommendation for the 2019 spring sports, boys modified baseball, Robert Jason Pratt.
Any questions? Motion?
Make a motion?
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
E, support staff recommendations, probationary. 4, bus drivers for transportation, Luanda Alley, Melinda Dean, Priscilla Harvey, and Tina Cole. Jessica Whiteside, school bus driver. That is an amended effective date due to a leave of absence that she had been on since previously we hired her, so she had never come to work, she was out on the leave. Michelle Carson, clerk part-time at the high school. That's a replacement and a change of title from our health office assistant position. Stacy Levere, teacher aide part-time at Riley. Melissa Parker, custodial worker at Riley. Marshall Condor, custodial worker at KPS. And Kaylee Moody, registered professional nurse at Minetto. That's effective 9/1. This is, I think, the last domino in the nursing retirement and hiring and transfers.
Any questions? Motion?
Move it.
Second?
Second it?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
F, support staff recommendations, permanent appointments for Cindy Grauer, school bus driver, Paulette Panazzo, and James Scanlon, and Michael Schlichtig as our athletic trainer.
Any questions? Motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And G, our substitute and temporary employees.
Any questions? Motion?
Move it.
Second?
Second it?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next is finance with Nancy Squires.
A is for the board to approve a budget transfer from our nice little textbook lines to our computer assistance technology equipment, which is also state aidable. And that's to purchase technology equipment for the students at OHS.
Any questions? Motion?
Move it.
Second? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And B is for another budget transfer from tires and chains and transportation to bus body repair.
Any questions? Motion?
Move it.
Second? Brian?
Second it?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next is the student representative discussion. Any items tonight?
Yeah. Over the weekend we had our JV show. I went. It was pretty good. We also had a ton of concerts in the past few weeks, so shout out to all of those. At least the ones I was at, they were very good. And then spring sports are in full swing now. That's all I've got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is items from the board. Would any board member have any items tonight?
I have a couple. First, as we talk about budget things, the budget was good to my department as well so far, the state budget, so I thank people like Miss Ellie over there who went to Albany to do some advocating. I did have gray hair before I went, but that was, they did a great job, so I commend them for that. And the second, for Principal Wallace, that our Leadership of Oswego County Youth program that's run facility or countywide, the first 4 applications in are all Oswego High School. So that's great. I mean, because that's getting involved in the community, so it's fantastic. So congratulations to you guys.
Great. Any other items?
Actually, I do. Is there a way that we can just kind of consolidate the different events? I mean, because I'm not always on the computer to check what's going on, and I don't think everything shows up on the calendar. But like, there's things that happen at the schools, like Kingsford, you know, had your character endurance thing. That was really cool. I was like, oh, I would have gone.
Our citizenship award
Yeah.
assemblies?
Yeah, so, I mean, just stuff like that the board can be made aware of on a weekly basis, maybe, kind of like we get from the AD's office, the athletic events for the week. If we could have, just so that we can kind of hit some stuff that we don't always know what's going on. I mean, I know I hit up the Dr. Seuss thing here at Layton. It was really fun. But just, I mean, I know a lot of you guys work during the day so that you can't, but just if we were aware of some of these things, it would.
At least it provide an opportunity, that's all.
Plan.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That, and then, I know that it's been a few years since we did this, but just the Dr. Norfit thing got me thinking. We used to do that. I didn't know how the board felt about, we used to do a moment of silence for people in our district that dedicated so many years, and faculty, staff, board members. I just thought it was always nice. I don't know how the board feels about it, but I
think it's great.
It would be nice
that's
to-
great.
If someone could notify me, I could definitely put it on the agenda so I know that they're on there and do a moment of silence for them.
Yeah. Well, Amy can notify you of some. I'll go through and check.
Any other items?
One thing that maybe that would help in that regard is maybe each principal could send a list of significant events even for the month to your board liaison, and then they can share it out.
Right.
That way you're not trying to report to everybody. It's just a thought.
Yeah, I do get one from Riley, so I
Okay.
can forward it to the rest
Yeah.
of them too.
I send Sam my blasts.
Okay.
He gets
Okay.
it. If that's enough, is that enough? Sam, what do you think,
It includes everything that's going on, and that's what they're asking for, so
You
I'd
can
say
just
yes.
forward that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, so if you get
Depending on the events that you're talking about, like our citizenship awards assemblies are not necessarily open for all families to come into. If that's something as a board member you would like to be able to attend, we can certainly make sure you're aware of it. We do have a number of different events that end up happening, but they might be grade level specific. I mean, how much information do you want?
you want us to send you everything? Yeah, because I'm thinking about
The
the
big
emails.
stuff.
Okay.
Or maybe just use your own discretion,
Stuff,
you know,
stuff
what you
that,
think
stuff that we do
would.
invite people in for.
Yeah, things that they might enjoy and be able to see.
Anything that has a snack or something.
We're on the my way, Sam.
Kale.
Would there be any other items tonight? Next is executive session. Would there be a need for an executive session?
Yes.
Okay, Reason?
Employment history of a particular employee.
Could I have a motion, please?
You want to tag
Yeah,
on?
and I want to do that or do it separately. I just want to add on also for personnel for going over the tool for board evaluation and super evaluation.
Could I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You may adjourn, or, excuse me, you may move to executive session.
Yeah.